Top 3 tips for blind retrieves with your retriever. Welcome to Cornerstone Gundog Academy, where you can learn to train your retriever with our online videos. So if you've been in the retriever world, even for just a short period of time, then you've probably heard someone talk about blind retrieves. And for those that do not know what a blind retrieve is, a blind retrieve is very simply a retrieve that your dog has not followed and actually visually marked as it's fallen. Essentially, your dog is blind to that retrieve and has no idea where it is. Now, if you really think about that, that's going to require that your dog trust you to get to that blind retrieve. And this happens pretty often when you're out there hunting. So let's say you're in the blind, you've got 2 or 3 birds that get downed out front, and then you've got your buddy on the end with a 3.5-inch shell, the guy that's going to take that Hail Mary shot, and he hits it, he wings it, and the birds start selling off. Well, you've got one bird flopping around right out front in the decoys, and your dog is focused in right there. Well, the bird that just sailed off is, number one, wounded, and then number two, your dog hasn't seen where it's actually fallen. So therefore, you may actually have to line your dog up, push it past the dead birds, and go to the wounded bird. That would be a really advanced blind retrieve in a hunting situation. And honestly, that actually does happen pretty often. So now that you know what a blind retrieve is, let's talk about some things that you can do to set your dog up for success on those blind retrieves. Because after all, we all want to be able to get as many birds as we can and get them as quickly as possible so we can get ready for the next round of birds. And for blind retrieves, there are 3 very important key ingredients to do this. And these 3 key ingredients aren't going to come easy. In fact, it takes a lot of time to develop these ingredients. But the first key ingredient is really just trust. You've got to have a strong foundation of trust between you and your dog. Your dog has to trust you. You also have to trust your dog. The next key ingredient is confidence. Your dog has to be confident that when you send it in a certain direction, even if there's something that it visually can see that it wants to get, it's going to have confidence that you're going to get it to where it needs to go. And therefore, that also builds off of that trust, because that also takes trust. Your dog has to trust you to push past the things that it can see to get to the things that it cannot see. And then the final piece of this is just a strong relationship, which really ties these 3 key ingredients together, which that strong relationship is built over time. So all 3 of these things are really built over time, and you've got to take your time and really work your dog and make sure that you instill that into every part of the training. Fortunately, our online courses actually weave that in through all the training. So if you're following one of our courses and you're working through it, all of that trust, all of that confidence, and all of that strong relationship will be built over time. So just keep that in the back of your mind. You've got to build those key ingredients first. But once you have those key ingredients, or once you've started working towards those, and let's say you have all of those key ingredients, you can do 3 important things to start working toward getting great blind retrieves. And really, you want to start small. And the first thing you want to do to start small is aligning memory retrieve. Very basic. It is one of the foundations of the blind retrieves, and it really helps set you up for success. Aligning memory, you walk out, you drop a bumper, and then you walk back to a starting point. So instead of just throwing out a mark, you're actually extending distance, and you're also extending time. So your dog has to trust you. So you walk all the way back, and then you line your dog back up, and then you send them. So that's a very basic retrieve, very easy. Your dog should be very successful at that. And you want to do that a lot. In fact, I like to do it so much that essentially when my dogs go to sleep, they are dreaming about lining memory retrieves. You want to do a lot of that. Now that kind of leads you into the next phase, or the next tip, which is pattern blind retrieves. So the pattern blinds are a great transition between lining memories and then cold blind retrieves. And on a pattern blind, essentially it's a pattern. You're repeating a pattern. So you remember all those lining memories we just talked about doing? Well, those can then eventually turn into a pattern blind. So every day you go out and you train, you go to the same spot, you do the same lining memory over and over and over, and your dog trusts you. They're confident, and they're really excited about it because they know they're going to be successful. Well, one day you're going to go out, leave your dog in the kennel or leave your dog in the truck while you put that bumper out in the same spot. You're going to get your dog out and go through the same routine, except this time you're not going to walk out and put the bumper out. It's already out there. You're going to line your dog up, you're going to send your dog, and it may act hesitant the first few times and be like, whoa, we didn't go put a bumper out. But you can just encourage it and push it on back. And then once it picks that bumper and it realizes, wow, I can trust my owner, I can trust my handler, you're moving in the right direction. And so it's a matter of doing loads of pattern blinds along with memories, and then eventually one day you're going to go out into a place you've never retrieved, and you're going to put out a bumper. And this is what's called a cold blind. This is a retrieve you've never done before. Your dog hasn't even seen the area. And if you've done your job right on the lining memories and the pattern blinds, then you're gonna line your dog up the same system that you've been using for the pattern blinds and memories. You're gonna send your dog and it's gonna trust you and it's gonna go on back. And then over time, you do more cold blinds and build more confidence, and eventually your dog's gonna trust you in any environment that you go to when you're working on those blind retrieves. So that is 3 tips for your blind retrieves. That's the progression. Don't forget the 3 key ingredients as well. You've got to make sure that you have all the pieces to the puzzle, and if you do that, you're going to be much more successful on those blind retrieves.